Now that Sinners is out on HBO Max and most people are already seen it, checking about it, things like that, I wanted to have a conversation because I felt like all the conversation that I was seeing, people weren't necessarily talking about the movie from the angle that I saw it. So I wanted to unpack some of the kind of hidden messages, thoughts, conversation that I felt like the movie was creating. And I could be overthinking, so forgive me. That that's not a crazy thing to think, but follow me on this journey. So one of the big points of conversation that I felt like was happening a lot that I haven't really, I haven't come across at least people kind of talking about that is, of course, Sammy in the movie is a musician, and Michael B. Jordan does a great job playing the main character, two of the main characters, things like that. But the movie is kind of revolving around Sammy and Sammy's experience in a certain way, right? And because Sammy's a musician, one of the things that I thought was interesting is that when we get to the scene where he's burning down a house, which is just a phenomenal scene in itself, right? I thought it was interesting that vampires were attracted to that, right? Mainly because the movie itself is a lot of conversations in one about black culture, blues music, race relations, a lot of different things. But the thing that I thought was interesting, like when we using a metaphoric standpoint, right? Vampires coming for the black music, right? It made me, as I was watching the movie, I've seen it a couple times now. It made me start thinking about like record labels. And as record labels come, they find these young kids that are super talented and they move it, right? And from the movie standpoint, they having a conversation about tapping into the ancestors and things like that. And that's what the Irish vampire, he wants to tap into the ancestry that, Sammy has and his, ability, right? But I think like that's a conversation about the music industry in terms of signing artists, looking for artists, and how they scout artists, right? Like if we look at the vampires as record executives, then they're looking for the talent, right? And they want to come to the party, right? Follow me on like a metaphoric path. Like they want to come to the party that black people just kind of put together, making ends meet. This person cook, this person gonna set it up, this person over here make the signs, like right. We just make shift, we just putting it together because we just want to have a good time. Hopefully, we can make some money at the end of the night, that kind of thing. But from the perspective of the vampires see a real world benefit, right? And I think like when we zoom out of that conversation, like that's kind of what has become of rap music, right? Like that's to me the greatest black export that has happened in America, right? Rap music. It's the biggest art genre in the world. And when we think about what it currently is, the golden ages and the great rappers and artists that we can name throughout the years, things like that, and kind of currently where it stands, where in my estimation, it's been sucked dry, right? And everything has been taken from it, it's been pimped in a certain way. And one of the things that I thought would have been dope with Sinners is that when, spoiler alert, when the vampires come back, Michael B. Jordan come back and the girl comes back with Michael B. Jordan at the end when Sammy is older. I thought it would be dope if they offered like a record contract. Like I thought that would have been full circle to bring the movie around. And not that the movie had to be based on like music or music industry. Once again, I could be overthinking it. That's fair. Um, but if they offered a record contract, I felt like that would have been dope, a dope concept to put into a movie because then you really get to see the full circle of Sammy turning away from the church to really go pursue his dreams. And it's a lot of conversation about the music industry and what people talk about a lot when it comes to sinning or, secular music versus non-secular music, things like that, like selling a part of your soul in order to get somewhere. All of those things that I find just interesting on a surface level that I feel like the movie was kind of having that conversation because the vampires who were white people, they wanted to come to the black establishment and party and get, into the vibes and things like that. But ultimately, they were going to suck everybody dry, right? They were going to kill everybody, turn them into vampires. And at that point, that's where if you just take a step back and think about the music industry, they were going to turn everybody into vampires, everybody that's leeching off of them, because ultimately they have a goal they're trying to get to. So they're trying to convert as many people as possible. Follow me? And then they ultimately wanted to get Sammy to tap into his powers because he has powers to tap into ancestry. And if they can turn Sammy, then the main vampire could then be able to go out and use Sammy's powers for his own and resurrect his own family or be in touch with his family, things like that, which was kind of one of the premises of the movie as well. So I think that was just an interesting part of the movie that not necessarily got fully unpacked or I haven't really heard conversation around. But definitely let me know in the comments if you see like a music industry metaphor kind of side to the Sinners movie, or if you think I'm completely off. Let me know in the comments what you took from the movie because it is an interesting conversation to open up. Um, I want to pick people's brain about the main part they took from the movie. It was a lot of good things, but overall, the biggest takeaway is that, Smoke and Stack were like young entrepreneurs. And to me, they represented like the street guys that's trying to become music executives, right? Like we've seen that in the 90s with a bunch of people that went from the streets to turn into running labels and things like that. So to me, that's what they represented in the movie. And the juke joint kind of represented like a record label, so to speak. And then they had the artist that they found. One was their young guy, or their cousin, which was Sammy. But also, Sammy attracted the girl played by Jamie Lawson. She came and she wound up singing and performing that night. They already knew Delta Slim, played by Delroy Lindo. They already knew him. So he was coming that night to perform. So they kind of put together like a record label at a certain point. And as the record label, really started getting going, then it attracted the vampires. The vampires were looking to tap into that blood because it's a vampire, of course, but tap into that blood. That's a bar. That's like a triple entendre, actually, but I'll let y'all figure that out. Let me know in the comments if you caught the triple entendre. Yeah. But overall, to me, when you look at it like that, Smoke and Stack created a record label, and Sammy was a star artist on a record label, and Delta Slim and the other young woman was all on a record label, and they were performing and making money and trying to make money, things like that. And the vampires offered them eternal life in a certain way, but it would come with a cost, the cost of your soul, because you're a vampire. And from that, Sammy saw so much in that one night that when he returned to church to go see his dad, he couldn't even let the guitar go because earlier in the night, which is what he says in the secondary scene, the cut scene at the end, this was the best night of my life before the vampires came. And I think about that with rap music, right? Like before the vampires really got into the industry and start sucking all of the blood from all of the artists, all of the culture, all of the neighborhoods, all of the different places that people come from, all the style, it was the best thing that black people had ever made. So I would love to know what y'all thoughts are on that. I'll keep it brief, but that's just my short thoughts on Sinners. Please like and subscribe. Comment down below. What's your thoughts on Sinners? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Who is your favorite character? Let me know what parts really caught you. And let me know if anything I'm saying even makes sense. Until next time.